see my screen?
Good to go.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, here we go. Well, hello,
Happy
everybody.
hungry.
Hello, everybody. My name is JC Smiley, and the title of my talk is Project Development, a Farmer's Guide from Sprout to Sweet Potato Pie. Now, I want to add some context to this title. If you have never had sweet potato pie before, it is a creamy, sweet, cinnamon flavor, golden color pie. It is the greatest tasting pie on earth. And sweet potato pie comes from sweet potatoes, which is a orange color kind of sweet potato. And sweet potatoes come from sprouts, which is a sweet potato vine chopped up and sort of like a seed. You plant it into the ground and it grows into a plant. Now, my father's family is from Marks, Mississippi, and that is inside the Delta region of the South in the United States. And they worked as sharecroppers on a farm. They just meant that whatever they raised, that is what they ate, and anything extra is what they sold for income. And this is how my grandfather fed his 12 kids. He had 7 sons and 5 daughters. So I want you to imagine that my grandfather, TJ Smiley, is the product owner, and his sons and daughters is his development team. So one day, my grandfather had an ideal. He wanted sweet potato pie for Thanksgiving. So he thought about this ideal. He thought about all the benefits, how much money he could make from selling sweet potatoes. What were the requirements? And I know that for us developers, this is how we think about our ideals. We think about what problems can it solve? How can our ideal change the world? So my grandfather, he would take this ideal, he would go back to the farm, he would talk to his development team, and he would tell them that we need a user interface. And so my Uncle JB, he would say, well, Daddy, how about we plant the crops down by the creek? And then my grandfathers go, nah, son, that's not a good idea. That is not a good user interface because the critters will get to the crops. Then my Uncle Kareem would say, well, Daddy, let's plant the crops next to the hog pen. And my granddad would say, nah, darling, that is not a good idea. That is a bad user experience because nobody wants to work where it's stinky. And then my Uncle Samuel Lee, he would say, well, Daddy, let's plant the crops by the chicken coop, behind the house, by the shed. Then my grandfather would go, that is a fantastic idea, son. That is a good user interface because it's by the shed. There is a good user experience because it's right behind the house. And I know that as developers, we would think the same thing. Whenever we would get a pencil and a paper and we would draw out a design for our deal. And we would include lots of features into it. We would think about how the user would experience our app. Now we would take that design and we would use some type of digital application to make a wireframe. And we would add some images to it, some animations, then some color. We would make this into a beautiful app. And then we would take that beautiful app and we'll make an image and then we would share that with our family, with our friends, with our local tech community. Because we want some feedback. We want to find out, is this a good idea? What type of users will use this product? And for myself, I normally reach out to my local tech community. They could be the Slack tech community, such as Code Connector or MemTech. I use certain Facebook user groups, Reddit channels, and Discord channels. And my grandfather, he would do the same thing. He would go to the local farmer market or co-op, And he would ask his former friends and some of the older field hands about their opinions. He would get some feedback. What had worked in the past? What are some best practices? What type of bugs should he look for and how to stop them? Now at this point, my grandfather, he would go back to the farm. He would gather up his developers and he would tell them, before we start farming, we will create unit tests. We will figure out which critters to look for and how to trap them, which bugs to look for and how to stop them. They will talk about some good and bad work practices. My grandfather, a farmer, he would take every precaution to ensure that the harvest is a success. And they're the same thing that us developers would do. We will create unit tests to make sure that the product will work as expected. Now, whenever I start coding and building something, I build it feature by feature, screen by screen, and then I take a screenshot of it. And I try to make sure that what I am building is working towards the end goal. And my grandfather, he would do the same thing. He would assign tasks to each developer. He would say, Willoughby, I want you to build a fence. AJ, I want you to plow the field. Bertha May, I want you to go down to the co-op and get some pesticides. Ruthie, I want you to plant the sprouts. Then he would check with each developer to make sure that the work is good. He would make sure that they are testing what they are doing. And for a farmer, they work with the end goal in mind. And I know as developers, we do the same thing. We constantly, every day, adding a little, one additional improvement, one additional feature to our app. Now, when we're almost finished, we will make a demo of this application. And we will share the demo with some alpha testers, with some beta testers, with our local tech community. And we will try to get some feedback. We want them to play with the application and try to break it. And we get two types of feedback. The first type is what I like to call a version 2 feedback. This is all of the things that they request that you add, all of the things that they wish you had in your app that you do not have time to add. So they go into that version 2 list. And then the second list is the most important. This is the bugs and the issues that they have found. If they found a button that don't work, a link that does not work, a color schema that isn't good, this now gives you an opportunity to refactor and make this the best app in the world. And my grandfather, he would do something similar. Before it is time to harvest, he will go out into the fields, he will dig up a few potatoes, and he will look at them. He will make sure there's no bugs, they're not malnourished. He will do whatever it takes to make sure that this is a successful harvest. Now that we're finished, we have rebuilt our application. Is the greatest app in the world. And for myself, at that point, I create a README file. I add a section that says, how do you use it? Then I also add, how can you install the app and build it yourself? I include a section for the technology that used, and I also include all the contributors. And my grandfather, he would do the same thing. He will gather up his developers, they will harvest the sweet potatoes, they'll clean them out, they'll shine them, then they'll box them, then they'll take part of their harvest and they'll place it in the shed for the family to use. And then the rest of the potatoes, they will take it to the market. Then my grandfather would stand around, he would say, gather around, everybody, come look at Smiley's sweet potatoes. And somebody would ask him, well, sir, how do you use those sweet potatoes? And my grandfather would say, well, bow through these, and here's a recipe for a sweet potato pie. And then one of his friends would say, well, Smiley, how can I install my own sweet potatoes? And he would go, here are some sprouts, and this is how you would install them at your own farm. Then somebody else would say, well, Smiley, what technologies did you use? What pesticides did you use? Then my grandfather will brag about his contributors, about his strong sons and beautiful daughters. And at the end, when they have sold all of the sweet potatoes, they will go back to the farm. And on Thanksgiving Day, they will sit down at the family table. And then my grandmother, she would come out the kitchen and she would bring to each and every one of them their own personal warm, sweet, creamy, cinnamon tasting sweet potato pie. Thank you.
JC Smiley.
That's good.
That was awesome, man.
Awesome.
Now I'm hungry.
Man, you haven't had good sweet potato pie in forever. I need to go